It's negative. There's no baby coming. There's no reason to throw your negative pregnancy test out the window. So, like 3 or 4 days ago, I made a whole giant video on like ultra running gear. And like the main piece of gear that I totally forgot about to talk about was the watch I actually use. Why the hell didn't I think about that? It's like the most important, I mean, besides like tennis shoes, like this is it. Like this is the key piece of information and that you needed. And it's something that I looked around all the internet to try and find the perfect watch, and I just could not justify spending $1,000 on a Garmin fancy solar charging watch that would last you 87 days out in some wilderness. But then I also couldn't see spending like $800 on an Apple Ultra watch. Like I could not justify the cost because I bought a Nike running Apple watch, like the runner's watch, and that thing would only last like 24 to 30 hours, like just like tracking my daily like day, and then like my daily run. And by the end of the day, like, the watch was dead. And I tried to run 2 ultra run marathons with it, 200-mile ultra marathons, and it only got to like hour like 9 before the thing was dead. I didn't have any data, and the data that I was looking for was essentially just like how far you've gone and how much longer you've got to go. Like, and when you're running like 100-mile ultra race, you can't just be out there for like 7 days. Like that doesn't make any sense. Like an organized, chipped, timed race usually only lasts anywhere from like 24 to like 38, 40 hours. And the 2 races that I entered, one was a 30-foot elevation gain where I needed GPS. I needed to know where I was going because I'd never been on the trail before, and sure enough, my watch died immediately. And then the second race, I tried to do the Apple Watch. I turned off all the GPS stuff, and it still died. It still died at like 12 hours. And after that moment, the miles were just a mystery. I was guessing. I had no clue how many miles I had left. So I went on this hunt. I went on the hunt for like the ultimate ultra runner watch, because ultimately, like, you don't really need, like, the Apple Watch would do absolutely just fine, especially like during like training runs, because I usually only do like my longest training run is anywhere from like 20 to 32 miles. So it typically would last. But I needed something specific for a race day. So what I did was I went and found like the best data on ultra runners and tried to find out what the really good ultra runners and the really bad ultra runners were using. So I went to what was it? It was the Western States Open, I believe is what it's called. The Western States. It's a 100-mile endurance race. It was like one of the very first 100-mile endurance races that was like founded, I believe, in the 70s. Essentially from like Truckee, Reno, Tahoe, Squaw Valley, where they held the Olympics, all the way down to Auburn, California. It's this 100-mile single route, like one direction route. It's not like a loop. It's not like it's just one direction, and it's freaking west, and it's 100 miles on this like horse trail that's through some of the most like crazy territory. And I'm talking about, like, you know, if you've ever heard like the Rubicon Trail, I believe has some part of the Rubicon in it. Anyways, very challenging race, very challenging trail, but it's also like one of the most famous ultra races ever. Like if you get into ultra running, like that's the race that everyone wants to get into. So they do a really good job of collecting like data on like what gear runners are using. And I'd never heard of this watch brand. I had heard of like the Apple Watch. I've heard of the Garmin. I've even heard of like the Sun 2. I used to wear a Sun 2 watch for when I was a deputy sheriff. It was just a watch. I had like, I don't know, had easy to read numbers. It has a stopwatch, and it would tell me where like northwest, south, and east was. And that's kind of all I really needed it for. But when I got into ultra running, like I needed something that was going to last a little longer. So, but the fourth brand I had never heard of, and it's called the Coros. Now, the one that I got is the Coros Pace 3. I believe it lasts up to like 38 hours on like medium GPS reading. So like, it's not gonna like be able to tell you like every single, you know, inch of the actual race, but it's going to be at least being charged for a average ultra marathon. It's gonna be able to at least keep track of most of your data. And the data that I'm looking for when I run these races is like kind of my average pace time. And it's not necessarily for me, it's more for my crew / my wife to be able to kind of predict what, if I'm going to be able to finish the race or not, or how fast I need to continue, or, you know, is there a moment in the race where I can just take 10 minutes and sit in the chair and try and take a quick nap, or fix some blisters, or rehydrate, or vomit, or pass out, or start hallucinating. These are all things that have happened to me. And so I just found this Coros Pace 3 watch. It seemed like a lot of ultra runners were using it. About, I believe it's like 30 or 40% of the field in the Western States Open. And I just went with it. And the great thing about it was only like $200. It was like $230. So it doesn't like do it all. But for me, this watch is absolutely incredible. It's super, I got like the rubber band. It's super comfortable to wear. They ask you to sleep with it. I can't sleep with a watch on to save my life. It bothers me, like hits my face, and it just doesn't work. But it absolutely tracks all the necessary data that is important to me. The only thing that I miss about my Apple Watch is literally when like the Siri voice would advise me that you're halfway done. Like I looked forward to setting like the amount of miles and hearing like, hey, you're halfway done, like, dipshit, you only got 50 miles left or 10 miles left or whatever it was. That's probably the only feature that I miss. This thing so far has been incredibly accurate in the last 4 months that I've worn it. It's easy to charge. It charges super fast. And I believe that if I do end up using it on like a much longer race or a race that I actually need turn-by-turn GPS, there's a way to actually charge it while I'm like running. So, which is crazy because the Apple Watch wouldn't do that. At least from the way I tried to use it. This watch you literally can like throw in my running pack and be able to charge it out on the trail. So just wanted to share that. It's something that it's so weird to talk about, but I'm so passionate about ultra running, and I have a race coming up here in the next 30 days. So my training is going to get really hyper-focused. My diet is going to get really, really focused. I'm going to try and avoid all the junk food. I'm trying not to drink any alcohol. Definitely not smoke cigarettes or cigars. I don't really smoke anymore, but it's something that I'm just trying to get better at. And on that like ultra marathon gear list that I like spelled out, I totally just swung and missed on the watch. So again, this is the Coros Pace 3. It's been pretty remarkable. I've been very happy with it. It hasn't died, but I'm truly going to put it to its test on December 31st when I attempt my third 100-mile ultra marathon in beautiful San Jose, California, which I am looking forward to. Yeah, so thanks for sticking around. This is kind of a weird run rant, I guess. If you've enjoyed this style of content, please do me a favor and give us maybe a follow, subscribe.